Cruise lines have been hit hard by this pandemic, and it's unlikely that day-to-day life on board a cruise ship is ever going to go back to normal. Everything from booking a cruise, dining and excursions will be affected. Guests will be required to follow much stricter rules, have restrictions enforced on them, and to accept controls put in place to minimise social contact. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I bring you weekly videos on this channel, cruise tips, tours and entertainment, so make sure you hit subscribe. The changes on board will take place all the way from booking your cruise up till disembarkation. If you are 70 plus, you can expect to have to show some sort of doctor's certificate to prove that you're medically fit to cruise. We have seen this a little bit recently, and I do expect it to continue into the future. All guests, regardless of age, may be required to provide evidence that they do have travel insurance, and the types of cruises that we do actually book may change too. When cases of COVID-19 were found on board the Diamond Princess, the entire ship was put into quarantine and all of the guests were quarantined to their cabins for multiple weeks. Inside cabins can often hold 4 or 5 people, and being quarantined in that smaller space with that many people is definitely less than ideal. It is expected that a higher proportion of guests going forward will want to book balcony cabins or higher grades. This could mean that the price of inside cabins comes down dramatically, or we could see more ships being built that don't have any inside cabins at all. There are already some cruise ships that don't have any inside cabins, but these tend to be more on the luxurious end of the cruise market. Embarking a cruise is normally a pretty easy process. You show up at the embarkation day desk, you sign a piece of paper that says that you haven't been unwell in the last 48 hours, and you embark. That sadly is going to be a thing of the past. Much stricter health screenings are going to be put in place in the future, and temperature scanning is probably going to become a common fixture. I've had my temperature scanned before when on a cruise. The technology does already exist, but it is going to have to be implemented in cruise ports all over the world. It might not be that it's just when you're embarking. It may be every single day when you get on and off the ship. It may just be if you're unwell. We don't know at the moment, but I'm pretty sure that if you take a cruise in a year's time, they're going to be scanning your temperature. One of the biggest problems that cruise lines face when it comes to illness is trying to prevent passengers from gathering together in big groups. This happens a lot on embarkation day, and to try and avoid this, the cruise ships may stagger embarkation and make sure that the guests get on at their allotted time. They may also have to make additional waiting rooms in the cruise ports to try and keep those waiting guests separate from the embarking guests. By far the biggest changes are going to be to the actual onboard experience. In dining, entertainment and cleaning, there are going to be massive changes. Genting cruise lines have already released what they're going to be doing post COVID-19, and one of the things that they're doing is that they're removing self-service buffets. I think we can expect this to happen across a lot of cruise lines. Removing self-serve buffets does dramatically decrease the chance of guests passing illnesses to each other, so it does make sense to get rid of that element. The cruise lines in question will no doubt still have some form of a buffet, but your food will be served to you by staff, and things like cutlery and your sauces won't be left on the table. When it comes to the main dining rooms, we may see a greater amount of space between the tables, and things like disposable paper menus may become more popular. An alternative here for guests that do use the cruise line's app would be to just order from the menu on the app rather than having a physical menu delivered to you. Genting cruise lines have already said that they're going to be implementing the paper menus, and they're also allowing guests to have disposable cutlery if they do ask for it. At present, hand washing is highly recommended on cruise lines whenever you enter any dining venue, but I think in future we can see this going from highly recommended to absolutely mandatory. We may also see extra washing stations popping up in the theatres, the lounges and the bars. Cruise lines may wish to upgrade their hand sanitizers to sinks if they are able to do that, and I'm sure we'll see a lot more hand sanitizing machines popping up around the ships. We may see hand sanitizer placed in the guests' cabins, and we might see automatic door systems placed on some of the doors. In particular, the public bathrooms may have automatic doors, just the main door, not the bathroom stalls, but once you've washed your hands, just so that you don't have to touch that door handle on your way out. All cruise lines will be thinking about how they can increase their cleaning schedule to better prevent illness outbreaks. The standard of hygiene on cruise ships is already much higher than that you'd find in an average office block or a commuter train, but there's always more that cruise ships can do, and cruise lines are very, very keen on increasing the amount of cleaning they're doing and having their ships as hygienic as possible. The cleanliness of the ship is taken extremely seriously by the staff, not only because they care about the well-being of the guests, but because the staff also live on the cruise ship. It's in their interest to keep it as clean as possible. Genting Cruises have said that going forward, all cabins will be cleaned and disinfected twice a day, and if a guest does become sick, they will clean that cabin to a hospital disinfection standard. They've also said that they're going to be cleaning their elevators every 2 hours. This is a massive undertaking, and it may mean that cruise lines have to employ additional staff to take on all of this extra cleaning. As much as possible, the cruise lines are going to try and avoid big gatherings, so they may limit how many people they can have in the theatre, in the bars and the lounges at one time. This could also happen on things like excursions, where you get guests travelling in a coach. They may decrease the amount of guests on the excursions to try and provide them with a bit more space per person. The medical facilities on board cruise ships may have to adapt to include isolation wards. Crew will have to be trained in how to deal with quarantine situations, and unwell guests will be required to comply with staff instructions. To avoid unnecessary social contact, things like ship tours and meet and greets may be cancelled. If they're not cancelled, they will be at a minimum banned from doing things like shaking hands. No more shaking hands. If you're from the UK or the US, you might not know who Genting are. Genting are a company that own 3 different cruise lines. They own Crystal Cruises, Dream Cruises and Star Cruises. They are based in Asia, and that's probably why you haven't heard of them before. One of the cruise ships for Genting, the World Dream, did have positive coronavirus cases on board. It happened at a similar time to the Diamond Princess, but most of the press for us, at least here in the UK, was focused on the Diamond Princess, not the World Dream. All of the passengers and the crew have been disembarked, and what they have said is that we're taking the positive opportunity during this hiatus period to implement comprehensive crew training and reinforce effective cleaning procedures, health and hygiene protocols and efficient guest interaction, which we will adopt as the new safety norm for our fleet, and we hope the industry too. So Genting are really leading the way when it comes to post-COVID-19 cruising. They did get it before us here in the UK. This did start in Asia, so I'm hoping that cruising will restart in Asia earlier than it does in the UK. Genting are hoping to restart cruises midway through the year, and they've put in a lot of measures to prevent and treat illness on board. Some of the biggest things that they've said that they're going to do is they're going to include mandatory temperature screenings and infrared fever screenings for all guests. They're mandatory. If you want to go on a cruise, you have to do these. They've also said a lot about how they're going to increase the cleaning on board. They're going to be twice daily wiping down all of the guest cabins, fogging vacant guest cabins, whatever fogging means, and twice daily wiping down and fogging of guest cabin alleys. They're going to be cleaning and disinfecting guest bathrooms with heavy duty alkaline bathroom cleaners, and they're going to make sure that they always remove the food from the cabins in a timely manner. I think that's very important. It's not very nice when people have room service and they leave the food there for a long time, so that's good. When it comes to things that are frequent touch points, things that you touch during your cruise, handrails, buttons, tabletops, door handles, they're going to sterilise these every hour at least. They're getting rid of self-serve buffets, and they're also getting rid of the culinary use of wild animals and related products. They're also very proud of the fact that the air conditioning on board will contain 100% external fresh air filtered and supplied to cabins and onboard areas, so completely fresh air there, not recycled air. Although these changes will be dramatic and they will be far-reaching, we will adapt to them, and they are for the best. When we are able to cruise again, I think it will be better than ever, and never again will we take for granted the opportunity to travel. How do you think that the cruise industry is going to change post-COVID-19, and when do you think we will be cruising again? Let us know in the comments, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. We're holding weekly live trivia sessions on this channel at the moment, so if you haven't taken part in those yet, they are all available for replay, and I'll put the links to them in the description. They've been a lot of fun. Even if you don't want to particularly take part in the trivia, just come along and chat cruising with us. I hope you're well and you're looking after yourself wherever in the world you are from. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.